Here we are. This is our hometown. We are in Kumba. Njomo Kevin, the name you know of all time, well retired from our Cameroon Radion Television, but still partnering with this national station. And it is our pleasure to find him in our hometown, K-Town. They want to know, what do you take for a drink, sir? This is my friend here offering.
A reactor.
Okay. And then give me a Coca-Cola like usual, my friend. Thank you very much. So we just think we are very, very lucky. Don't go too far. You remain within our own range. To have my senior brother, and I will say that with all pride because we are all from Fiango, Three Corners, Mabanda, Kumba. We may have gone to different horizons and seen different things, but we are all from a family there. The people who came from the 8 sides of Cameroon, the mostly Bamileke people who came and settled in this west side, Kumba being our base, and we have made our own here, Nang de Plaise à Certain. So, Grand Njomo, good to meet you in the hometown.
Thank you very much.
It didn't happen very often that both of us were in our own home base.
I know.
At the same time.
My pleasure.
Please bring the camera closer. Yes, so, we would like to know what brought you to town this time around.
Oh, my mother wasn't feeling too good, and I thought that I should come and check on her. And also again, quite a good number of friends were bereaved, and I never heard about this. So when I got this information about my mother's health, I decided to come to town too, and then go back to my roots, meet some of my childhood friends who within these few months have been bereaved, and I thought it was time for us to share this friendship that we started in the 50s.
That's very good. Good to meet a big brother. So could we have a resume as to how Big Brother does after retirement?
Well, like you said in the beginning, I partner with CRTV still on a contract. I produce 2 programs on radio, Grapevine, which is a slot on Cameroon Calling, and then I do a musical program, Good Old Time, on the national station of CRTV Radio on Thursdays from 11:05 p.m. till midnight, and then I produce a sports program on television, Sport Yesterday, talking about sports events and people of the past, of the yesteryears. And then, apart from that, I'm very, very hooked up to the Catholic mission in Buea Diocese. I'm a member of the Diocesan Communications Council. I am a vice chairman, as the vice president of the Catholic Men's Association in our parish. I am also the communications secretary for the Catholic Men's Association in the diocese. And then, from time to time, I give a helping hand in their communications department, and I'm an integral part of the radio station that the Catholic Church is putting up, that is Radio Evangelium.
In Buea there?
In Buea, and in the 4 other dioceses. In the ecclesiastical province of Bamenda, which is the Diocese of Mamfe, the Diocese of Kumbo, the Archdiocese of Bamenda, and the Diocese of Buea. So I'm very much part
active.
of that.
You've been
Yes,
very active.
Really.
And then I even saw once when I went to Yaoundé, we were having our monthly meeting of journalists of my batch, and Wongi Emmanuel got me to watch that your wonderful show.
Yes, the
Old Timers show.
Yes.
I'm talking about Old Timers.
It's a commitment for me.
Yes. There's one name which is so controversial in its own respect called Lapiro de Mbanga. We would like to know, because I was listening to the recent release, the surprising one that came up, because we thought he had retired completely from music. The recent one called Démissionné. You, Njomo Kevin, you are mentioned in it. Why? That was my surprise.
I've never discussed this with Lapiro, but I think he did it in all honesty. And when I listened to it, a few months ago, I felt that it was in recognition of true friendship and what the contributions I've made to his career. That was my reading of it, and I know that definitely it was Lapiro's, intention. Even though I don't even need to ask him why he did it, because it's just a manifestation of the kind of relationship that does exist between the two of us.
And speak about the early days of that relationship, which stems from Kumba.
It actually, as you say, stems from Kumba, when Lapiro came over to Kumba as a young guitarist, hooking him up to Mr. Kanajan, the proprietor of the Super Ambiance Orchestra. Super Ambiance Orchestra, this orchestra which came out with a hit in 1972, competition for Kumba with Johnny Tezano. Lapiro came into town as a young guitarist and played in some of the bars here in Kumba, but principally in Lido Bar. And during that period when he was in Kumba playing with these groups, it was also when we had a student group in the University of Yaoundé, and we usually came up to Kumba and had Sunday gigs, and that is how we met, when we went to hire instruments and hire halls and so on. That is how we met. And after a long spell, of absence between us, because after that I went over to Nigeria and only came back here in 1979. And when I came back in 1979, Lapiro had this hit which he had put in the market, No Make Error.
Yes.
And that actually moved me. And you see, there was something in common between Lapiro and myself. I wouldn't say I'm a musician, but I have a passion for music. We started in 1967 as a Form 3 student in Sase College. I put up a students band in 1967, and then put up another band in 1971 in Bishop Rogan College, then played with the Yaoundé University Music Yum, and all of that. There was something that brought Lapiro and myself together, the passion for music. So when I listened to No Make Error, I said, hey, it is time I start looking for this old friend again. And I got connected back to Lapiro, and he was coming on radio shows. We were meeting during concerts he had. But the climax of it all was in the year 2000, when I thought that for those of us who played music in secondary school, and at the time as a student, it was very abhorring to hear you played music, because music usually was to be a musician at the time, you must have been a dropout.
Just like Nikomba was
just
saying.
Like, yes.
Even the father was saying that music.
And Patrick, just as an anecdote, in 1972, when I got my A-levels, at that time, we were frequently playing with the orchestra in Ringo Bar in Hausa quarters, that you know very well. And when the A-level results came out, there were quite a good number of persons who did not know I was in high school. And when the results came out, a boy from one of the big high schools in Cameroon did not make his A-levels, but was weeping. He said, how can I fail my A-levels when a musician in a bar, has passed his A-levels? And somebody just asked him, who is this musician who must have had A-levels? And they called his name. He said, look,
Njomo
that guy
Kevin
went to Sase, and from Sase to Bishop Rogan. So that could tell you, the low esteem. So in 2000, when I felt that I was already an accomplished father of a family, and accomplished, at least in my profession, I thought that it was time for those of us who played music in the 60s to come together and relive some of those memories, especially that most of the people who played music during those days were very, very successful persons. Successful in their education, successful in their careers. I name you a few. Think of Nokombele, think of Akeremuna, think of Dr. Epa. Akeremuna was solist, was lead guitarist for one of the schoolboy bands, the Funkies of Lycée Bilen in Buea. Then come to think of Mr. Eyo, who is retired. He was the general manager, the director of the Institute of Management in Yaoundé. He was one of the best bassists you could find in the colleges at the time. Late Akwankajo, quite a good number of them. Dr. Epa, a very renowned medical doctor with Del Monte. Jones Ege, this is an agronomist with Del Monte. Quite a good number of them. Late Nat Ewusi was vocalist for one of the biggest student groups, the Hackets, Endeli Charles, who is communications officer for CDC.
Yes.
These are just
Maybe
some names I mentioned. Then James Nkwanyo, a very reputable engineer. He was a lead guitarist for the Flames in Sacred Heart College, Mancon, and you can name the rest.
So you have that history, man.
Yes. Ikomingongi,
I appreciate
yes.
that.
So I thought that it was time for us to come together, share those experiences, and also start telling parents that when you find talent in your child, it's not just because football not just football, because even playing football at the time was not really accepted.
I was beaten for that
by parents. So we thought that it was a time to tell parents through our performances. So I decided to come out with this innovative idea of an old-timers night. And when I put all of my friends, Honorable Mbile was a good guitarist in the top ups in Lycée Bileng. When I brought all of them together, we had this maiden old-timers night in 2000 in Buea Mountain Hotel. And I thought that for those who are already, artists, I should get the people with whom we shared a passion. So I got Lapiro, I got Ekambe Briand, and I got Nancy Asopo of late, that is the mother of Leonard Buea, who is station manager of FM 105. And we had a blowout that night.
Wow.
And continuously when we were organizing Old Timers Night, I always ensured that Lapiro was a guest artist.
Okay.
And apart from that, the friendship intensified. I went several times to Mbanga, to his residence, visited him, sympathized with him. When he had a lot of problems at a certain period when his followers rejected him, that
yes.
I stood by Lapiro.
Like a good friend.
And I brought him over to, when I was deputy station manager in FM Mount Cameroon, I got him for 2 hours. I thought that this is a friend whose image had been tarnished, and he should also, like any other Cameroonian, any human being, have a chance to
even for repentance,
and have a chance. So I brought him on this interactive show, which I was running on Mount Cameroon, and gave him a chance to take questions from the public. And after that, he had a night performance in a nightclub in Buea. So it's been a period of good friendship.
You are putting now in context. Okay, now to surmise.
Yes.
I want us to surmise on Kumba. This is the Kumba land we are sitting on. As two Kumba boys, we should surmise as we begin. If it were to ask you to give some, I know you live now but in Buea, but now I like Kumba too, like you do. You just came here to see your mother was also a Kumba guy, a Kumba mother. So I want you just to say a little word about Kumba, what you know and what you like, your feelings, your take for K-Town boys.
I will continuously use a phrase that the people who love